2025 Kinetic, we are focusing on our long course race this year. This is the long course half Ironman distance, half triathlon. This is taking place on May the 10th. Scrolling down, Kinetic Multisports. Great race, usually one of the big early season races in the DMV area here. Scrolling down, again, May 10th, promptly 7 a.m. start. Really love the Kinetic Multisport website. There's a whole host of things like packet pickup. There's two options for those. Friday before the race, 5 to 7, located at the state park. 6 p.m. at the race site for the pre-race briefing if you want to attend. The address is listed right here. Make sure you do enter that into your GPS when you are driving to it on race day. Second option for packet pickup is Saturday, 5:30 to 6:30 a.m. Same location, and the pre-race briefing happens at 6:45 a.m. at the swim start because it does start at 7 a.m. So a little bit of an early start for athletes who are just planning to arrive on race day. All of these are clickable: race policies, directions, athlete guide, participant lists, and facts. The athlete guide, it doesn't really change year to year because most of the information stays the same, just sponsors change. The schedule of events, again, this is pretty standard from year to year to year. If they do make some changes, I would expect to see those in the next couple of days or weeks. Friday, the day before the race, 5 to 7, packet pickup option number 1. Pre-race meeting we talked about takes place at 7. Saturday, race day arrival. They say please arrive no later than 6 a.m. Transition opens at 5:30 a.m. Make sure when you do go to the state park, the speed limit is 25 in the state park, and they do strictly enforce that on race day. So just a heads up there. A little pro tip. Packet pickup 5:30 to 6:30 with body marking and chip pickup. Love to see body marking up there. 6:45 the transition closes. Race starts at 7 a.m. with awards ceremony taking place at or around 1:45 p.m. This is the schedule of events for the sprint, which we don't need to do, but this is the layout of the transition area. So this is our transition area located right here. This is the road that you will drive in on. Parking available here and also here. Athlete check-in takes place right here, and they usually have a lot of things just lined up over there, so it makes it pretty straightforward. So you check in, then you do your body marking, then you pick up your timing chip, and then transition is located right there. Swim start located right here. Swim finish, so you'll come back in right here. You'll do a little bit of a longer transition or to T1. And then the finish line is located right here, which you will run by a couple of times, and we will talk about that. Packet pickup photo ID is required, and your questions, bring all of those. Course cutoff times, you have 8 hours for the race, 1.5 for the swim, and 5. You have to cross the bike before 5 hours is up. And then the race numbers here, you have to have it on the run, located in front of you, or safety pinned on you on the bike, front helmet, and on the top tube. Also, timing chip located on the left ankle as is customary. Also, you do have to get body marking. Aid stations on the bike are 2 located, and you will be able to do those 2 times. So it's a total of 4 different aid stations for you to hit 4 opportunities. They're going to have water. They're also going to have Gatorade. Make sure that when you do discard your trash, it is only at those aid stations. If they find you doing littering outside of those aid stations, that is opening yourself up to an automatic DQ at this race. On the run, there is 4 water/Gatorade stops on each loop. So there's huge offerings out here. No real excuse to underfuel out here or to just kind of to get it wrong. They're going to have water, Gatorade, Coke, ice, pretzels, and bananas. Make sure you do ask if they're going to have ice at every aid station or if it's just going to be at one. And then you can also scan this for race results and awards. There's going to be they do a really good job of putting those out there. It's live, it's up to date, it happens in real time, and it's just actively scrolling on a little projector. It's pretty awesome. Make sure you do review the new USAT rules, the penalties, all of that fun stuff. Wetsuit temperatures 78 and below. Wetsuits are allowed. 78 to 83.9 is optional without awards, and 84 and above not allowed for wetsuits. This is our swim start at this race here. It's a little bit of a gentle start, and that is good. Again, Make sure you do check out some of these other rules over here. The swim is going to be a time trial start. 2 people are released every 3 to 5 seconds. It's a beach start. There's no wetsuit strippers here on the swim. The bike, again, 2 aid stations over here. The long course bike, which we are going to be addressing here, talking about, is it's only going to be marked with the pink duct tape arrows and yellow directional signs. And there's going to be 5-mile increments of those 5-mile signs. So that is what you should be following. The blue Olympic bike course is going to be marked with yellow duct tape. So you are looking for the pink duct taped arrows on the ground. Also, make sure you just know the course. It's pretty easy to nail, and it's a little new this year. Run course. So the run on the long course is a 3-loop course, and if you don't complete the 3rd loop, you will be automatically disqualified. They do have timing chips, so they can see how many laps you've done pretty easily out there if anyone does not do it honestly. All right, so this is our swim out here, and a couple things to note. The transition area is located up here, so when you do exit the swim, you do have to go out this way and then come back up that way. It's a little bit of a zigzag. It's not really as short as you want it to be. When you do exit, you are going to be covered in sand. In some years, they've had pools, little mini kid pools that you can just put your feet in really fast to get all the sand off. In some years, they have not had those. So that's going to be a great question for you to ask when you get to that race site on race morning. But our swim right here. Couple of things for you to watch out for when you do start out. It is a time trial start. In this first little stretch here, there are some posts left over from an old dock that's not no longer there, but they are sticking up out of the water, or slowly sticking up. If you do have an opportunity to see it on race morning, make sure you stay away from those. You don't want to swim into those. If my memory serves me correctly, they are on the left-hand side of that swim exit out into the water. So if you do find yourself veering off, you will hit those. But again, there could be 1 or 2 onto the right, so make sure you just take an active lookout on race morning. The entrance to the swim it's a pretty gentle entrance. It's a lake here, so it's not going to have a huge cliff on the sand. So you should be able to see that. And the posts usually happen in the first 50 to 75 yards out on this swim course. But what usually happens out here, even though it is a time trial start for this portion of our race, right before you get to that Olympic turn, everyone usually overshoots this. Again, this is one of the first bigger races in the DMV area, so everyone loves to just really fly out here. And they don't really have a sense of that. So every year I really tell people, for this first little stretch here, if you think you're going slightly too easy, that's probably the right pace for you out here on race day. Because what everyone does is when they get to this little turn mark right here, the sighting buoy, excuse me, right before the turn for the Olympic, which you are not going to be taking, when they get out here, everyone says, oh my goodness, I need to slow down, and that's exactly what they do right up to this turn. And so you have a slowing down here, and it lasts over there as well. This is another area where athletes really, really slow down and say, oh my gosh, I've overshot it, I've overdone it, I need to back off. So if you've paced this correctly, for the first little bit here, go a little bit easier, and then just maintain that pace. And the go time right here is, if you are a stronger swimmer, I would say from this first turn here, you're pushing the pace right through there. If you're a mediocre swimmer here, this portion right here is probably the time for you to kind of push it a little bit, or to try and find the next group up the water here, with the idea that you're gonna catch up to them, and they're gonna pull you for the rest of the way in, starting from there and ending there. Water currents. There are going to be a slight current over here. It's a top current. It's not anything crazy. If there hasn't been a whole lot of wind, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of water movement out there. But the water usually goes this way or this way. You do have a great landmass located right here. So the water will swirl this way, or depending on what's going to happen, it will swirl that way. I can't tell you which way is which. You're just going to have to scope it out on race day. If the water is pushing you this way, which is pretty common, instead of aiming for that swim finish barrier, you're going to actually aim this way, and it will push you further out, and you will end right there. the opposite is true if it's going the other way. So just make sure you are doing that appropriately out there. And that's the swim, believe it or not. Pretty straightforward. People make it really, really complicated, but it is not super complicated. Something brand new this year is the bike. Bike is going in a different direction, and yeah, it is. It's going to be a little bit of a more difficult bike over here. In years past, what we would do is we would go this direction. And this year, we are going this direction right out of the gate. So it's gonna have a different style this year. Coming out of the park here, we do have a nice little incline coming out over here. And what that happens, or what typically happens on race days, the humidity is going to be there. Visored athletes, visored time trial helmets might fog up over there. You're going to be going hard. Heart rate's usually higher over here because you're climbing out. Speed is down, and the glasses fog up, and people really overdo it in the first couple of miles trying to get out of the park. I wouldn't panic over here. A lot of athletes are really, really going to be putting a lot of effort down. I would ride your pace. If you've overshot the swim a little bit, I would take this as an opportunity to just get up this hill and just kind of get your footing back. If you've underswam a little bit, then you have a yellow light to kind of overdo it out of the park. But either way, I wouldn't be going around your FTP levels, climbing up out of the park this way. Once you get out of the park here, we do have a rolling downhill section about to mile 16 over there, and then you can definitely see section number 3 over here coming up to mile 26 and a half-ish. We have a uphill section for sure that's going to put the hurt on you. This section over here is going to be a challenging one, and then you can see that we repeat our sections going back right through here, and after that, we are climbing back down into the transition, or back into the transition again. Before we get really really crazy here, I always do this for some of my personal clients. So let's do it really fast for everyone. So I'll put the little Google photo thing here. So this is our road. If you're looking at it flat, this is what it's going to look like there. So this is definitely an uphill kick, and you can see that we are already elevated from the transition area. Our mount line is going to be right where that S is for the state park, and then we climb up over here. So make sure that you are in an easier gear here to help you get up for those first couple of pedal strokes. Very, very common for athletes to be in a really, really heavy gear and really struggle to get out of the first couple of pedal strokes there. So just make life a little bit easier on you. The flying mounts are going to be a little difficult here, so this is going to be another a race where you do have the opportunity to not lose a ton of time if you do not do a flying mount, because the pitch is so aggressive to start out. Just a little PSA. All right, so let's talk about how to attack this bike here. First off, let's talk about the weather. So weather is forecasted to be a north to south wind, as is typical. Again, this is always up for, not debate, but this is always up for change. This is about a month away from our ride right now. So anything can happen from now until then, and it probably will. The wind, no matter what direction it's coming from out here, it will swirl. It is just the nature of the terrain out here. But they're forecasting about a wind speed of about 3 miles an hour right now. I'm here to tell you that's not going to be the case. It's going to be a little bit stronger. But this is what you can expect if this is the weather that does happen on race day. So this is a little bit of a chunkier course. What you'll notice in the first little bit here is you do have that really, really aggressive start. That's the start that we just talked about. That is because of the really aggressive pitch. But then it calms down, and what most people don't do is they don't let that power calm down, and they keep it super high coming out of the park, and that is a huge, huge trap over here. So again, I'm going to stop harping on that. Terrain, it does drop over here. You can see that our power, it slowly drops throughout this section, but it's still up. As we proceed to, let's get out of here. As we proceed to slowly come around out here during this section, about mile 16 right here, then things do kick up elevation-wise, but we're still going to have some opportunities to go fast, and you should be going fast for sure. If you don't, you're going to leave a little bit on the table, and these hills are going to be a little bit more challenging than they are. So if we do Um, zoom in on some of these sections here. We're going to be screaming down here about a negative 4% pitch, and these hills don't start out super aggressive, so if you do carry this speed, that's a big secret here that it will be a lot easier to climb up. This 3.5 pitch here, it will be a lot more difficult than you want it to be. Same thing on our second hill back through here. Again, we are going to be dropping like a stone out here, negative 5%, 6% right through here, and we're going to end the hill at 19.12. The hill starts over here at 19.6 even, and then as we proceed up this hill, it catches up pretty fast, but again, for the most part, it's under 3-ish percent. I would say that's probably a little wrong here. I would say that that does increase a little bit more than 3% out in the real world, but hey ho, that's just me. Going back to the best bike split here, power numbers, I'm going to take speed away to kind of clean it up, make it a little less busy for you. Hopefully you can clearly see that our power does increase as we slowly go up these hills, and that's no surprise at all. What will be challenging back through here is the wind. It's going to be coming from the dirty side of the bike, so it's going to slow you down a little bit more. But if we go back to the elevation, and I'm going to stop switching after this one. If we go back and look at some of these elevations over here, you're typically going to find yourself under 2% when you are climbing after you get past the major pitches here. But for the most part, a lot of these areas are under 2%. So you can eat up a lot of elevation very, very well in that aero position if you're a decent bike rider out here. And even if you're going faster than 15 miles an hour, that aero position is going to be key for you. I just did an awesome CDA video about a race that happened just yesterday, so make sure you do check that out. Also, back to our race, the wind is going to be playing a huge factor. So it used to be, we used to try to get around this course initially as fast as possible on the first loop to avoid the wind before it really picked up. This is going to be no different here on this course. We are doing a 2-loop around this section of course, and we only do this once this year. So if we can get past this section kind of as fast as possible or as early as possible in the day is probably a better way of saying that. That is going to really behoove us and our effort levels. So you want to get there fast, but you don't really want to overdo it with your effort levels here because there's a whole lot more to this race than just this top section. So if you do it, great. If not, you're just going to have to kind of deal with it. We only have to do this section once. Climbing up here, we go to Lawyers Road, and it's kind of on after this. So when we scroll through here for the remainder of our race, we got 1,300, let's call it 1,400 feet of elevation. More than half of our total elevation gain for the race is going to happen in these last 30 miles here. Elevation loss, we are going to experience about 1,600 feet of elevation loss, so a little bit more than what we are gaining, and that's going to largely come in the park over there. Once we do head off to our little loop for the first time, we are going to be greeted with a great downhill. As you progress through this stage over here, it is going to become faster and faster with that wind until you get to this point here. There are going to be hills mixed in here, so you are going to have to actively be driving those downhills to go and eat those uphills up for success. That's going to be one of the biggest success points over the course of this race, driving the downhills to overcome the uphills. It's not going to work everywhere, but it's going to work in a lot of different places, right? It's going to get a little bit violent through here, through this section over here, and if we do switch back, this is the section that we're talking about. It slowly increases over time here, and these areas are definitely going to be race killers for sure. What you will find is athletes are going to totally sky the power on all of these uphills, and on the downhills, they're going to really pay the price, and they're just going to kind of coast through. If you find an athlete ahead of you is burning up the uphills and burning up the downhills, and they are really strong, you're going to have to weigh the costs of staying with that athlete. Is it worth staying with them or not? You're going to have to make that call yourself. If you do want to put a gap in between yourself and a couple other people that are drafting or what have you, this is an ideal location to do that, an easy spot, but beware that everyone's targeting this area to do that as well. So Heads up, you are going to be able to ride this 2 times, so you are going to have two little cracks at it to kind of separate yourself. In my mind, this is the ideal location. You do have a chunk of time to kind of continue that gap if you are going to try to put a gap on someone. If you do it here, you got to really know that you're going to outrun that person. I mean, you're doing it at the very end here, and you're also going to have 3 or 4 miles of just pure downhill going into the park. So, I mean, in my mind, that's a little too late to do that unless the person you are putting the time on is a really poor descender here. So, this is probably the ideal spot. As you go around the loop again for the second time, things will change a little bit. This is going to be a little bit of a sharper turn. Going back to our course here, this is the turn that we are talking about, located right here. It's going to make this hill a little bit harder, but it's not going to last for very long, and it's only 1.5% grade, so nothing too crazy. When you do make the turn up here, this hill, it's going to feel a little bit more challenging. Again, under 2% for the majority of it, and unless you're talking about the very beginning. And so aero is still going to be really important on this course, or on this section of road right through here. If it is a windy day, this is going to be the point in time where the headwinds is going to be the strongest for you, and this is another opportunity for you to continue to put the gap on someone or to slowly start closing the gap on other athletes. And that's going to be a continued thing from, let's call it 38.6 all the way up back up to this road at 41.6. So a healthy chunk of time here. You're going to see a lot of athletes cramping because of the little surges they put in earlier. You're going to see a lot of athletes just kind of falling apart here. Cadence is going to be really important. Whether that's high or low is up to you, and it's going to be on your race dynamics and how you want to attack the race. And that's very personal to you. I'm not going to talk about that for everyone right here. So when you do make that turn again, the speed is, this is going to be the fun part of the course over here. And when you turn, this is where things get a little bit violent. It's twisty, it's turny. Again, I think that this area is going to still be pretty fun here. Some of these hills are going to be a little bit more than you want at this stage of the game, but this is probably going to be one of the most fun sections, of course. And then once you get to about here, right, you'll be able to almost see the entrance of the park, and you'll want to just totally bomb it back into transition. I'm here to tell you that's not always doable, and here's why. So let's highlight this section here. For the first little bit here, you will be able to go at a decent clip. You're about a -1 to -2% out here. But when you do slowly enter the park, which is located right here, hopefully you can see that negative drop, it doesn't really drop aggressively here. You are under a 1.5 drop or percent grade for a majority of time out here, so you're still going to have to work, and I wouldn't view this as an outright downhill, even though it is marked as. This is I would view this as a false flat. You really only get that real downhill benefit once you get to about this point in the state park. From 56.5 back up here to 53.3, this is a false flat. Aero is going to be key here. If you find yourself not going 28 miles an hour, 32 miles an hour, whatever, I wouldn't set the alarm bells going off. I would still try to drive that speed a little bit, but a really common pitfall for a lot of athletes at this course is to really try to push the pace there, and they explode, and they fall apart in the last couple of miles, the last half a mile really, of the bike, because they're chasing these unrealistic paces coming back in here. So just a heads up, don't force it if it's not there. If it is there, go for it. Awesome, great. But if it's not, don't really push it. We do have 2,400 feet of elevation gain over the course of this bike. It's going to be a little slower bike than you're used to out here, and that's totally fine. Aero is still going to be a huge priority out here, and you are going to be battling some wind as well. So I would definitely be focusing on some of those aero benefits and practicing that right now. Zones in this race, you're going to find yourself pretty much all over the place. A healthy amount of time in Z3 and Z2. You're also going to find a good amount of time in that zone 4 in the 6-zone model here. Time analysis, if you are decreasing your drag a little bit, you're going to save about 30 seconds over the course of this race. Power, this athlete, didn't mention it earlier, but this athlete has about a 200 FTP right here. So if you do bump this up a little bit, let's call it 1 watt more, 1% more, you're saving 52 seconds, almost a minute over this course. Weight, if you were to drop, this athlete just dropped 1 pound. This athlete just saved 20 seconds. Rolling resistance, if we did drop this a little bit, you are saving 10 seconds. So in my mind, ideally what you want to do is become a little slippery over there and wait. We're about a month away, so if you haven't already hit your race goal or you're around it yet, I wouldn't really be chasing that. But if you did or were able to drop a pound, which is realistic from now until then, you're looking at a realistic 2-minute savings if you do all of this stuff. And that's the bike, guys. That's the bike. New course. I'm really excited for it. It's gonna be more challenging for sure, but I'm still excited for the change here. Our run. So this is our run. This is the typical run out here. This is what it's going to look like. This is one loop. 245 feet of elevation gain times 3. You're looking at over 600 feet of elevation gain here. The thing that everyone's going to be worried about big time here when you leave, everything's going to be fine, but only for 0.07 once you start or once you pass the areas where you did check in the morning here. Yeah, you're going to hang a left and it's going to get spicy really fast. We're already talking 4% and that's going to kick up to around 6% before it cools off at about 0.22 into this route here, into this looped route. It does flatten out a little bit, and you think you're out of it, and then it does kick back up again to that 3%, which is a little bit more aggressive than you want to. It's definitely runnable, walk runnable, so when you are coming back into the park, you'll see a lot of athletes walk running. Totally normal, totally natural here. But the bite, and we did look at the athlete guide really quick here. One of the photos on the run was right here coming out of the park. This is very, very daunting, very challenging, and it is a mental killer out here. When you're coming to this point of any loop, 1, 2, or 3, make sure you are mentally strong. And if you have to walk, don't be afraid to walk. Nothing wrong with it. You'll be surprised at how many athletes really force themselves to run up this and totally shoot their legs for no reason. Don't be afraid to walk, run. You're going to have less of a penalty if you do it in a really steeper section of surface here. So once you make it to the top over here, it's going to feel like an eternity, but once you do run these 0.8 miles, you are going to hang a right, and it's going to be happy days for a little bit. You're going to have a rolling downhill here, and because you were unable to run over here, you're going to want to absolutely floor it down this section, and I'm here to tell you not to do that. You're going to have to watch your running form. You're going to have to be very, very careful with how you attack this section of road. Be careful, don't overdo it, and especially on the first loop, don't get back all of those minutes all at once. You should have an increased pace for sure, 100%, no question, but it shouldn't be the polar opposite. So if you ran up this hill at about a 10-minute mile, this mile or these miles here should not be run at a 5.5-minute mile, obviously. Once you get down to the bottom over here, you're going to loop around. This course goes around the wrong way, and if you look at the course here, their course goes around to the left side and loops around, but we still get the general idea here of our course. After you loop around over here, it's flat and slowly starts to kick back up. You have to climb all the way back up to right over here where you just ran to. And this is not going to be as aggressive as the other hill, but it's still very, very similar. So everyone always talks about this hill back here, and they forget about the one where you have to climb back up. It's very similar. I would view it as you run up, you run down, you turn around, you do the same thing. So you got to go up and you got to go back down. When you come back down the second time, it's very manageable. It's very runnable. This is a lot of athletes kind of when they feel the best during this loop on all 3 of the loops, just because it's not super aggressive and it's not a sustained downhill like over here. It does drop down pretty aggressively, and you run through the woods a little bit to cross back over, and you go right by the finish line. And that's loop number 1. Loop 2 is pretty similar. You don't want to just absolutely come out of the gates flying up that initial hill here. It will be a little bit easier to run up it on the second loop. Third loop, when you do hit this, it's going to be a little tiring, but you're almost there. Just another 4.4 miles left to go. Another area that a lot of athletes don't know or don't like to talk about is because when you do run past this finish line, everyone's over here. It's a hotbed for activity. There's noise, there's crowd, it's great. And then you hang a left, you hit this awful, awful hill, and it's super silent. It's just athletes again. I used to love that when everything kind of died down. That's where I would kind of like feel my best, get my mojo again. But a lot of athletes get really dejected back there, and double whammy with the big hill. So stay mentally strong. I've said it before. I've said it probably the last time here. Just stay mentally strong up this hill, and you'll find yourself going up it a lot faster than you think you are going to be able to, right? Second loop, third loop, things pretty much stay the same out here. Biggest trick on this course is not to overdo it on those uphills or the downhills. Know your race limits, okay? Know your targets. If you're running with power, definitely let me know. I'll be happy to talk to you about how to attack this course with power. And good luck to everyone racing this year. Big keys on the run, running form, running form, running form, especially downhill. Do not when I say that, what I mean is I don't want you to come down those downhills, and I don't want you to load those quads up excessively, because if you do that on the downhills, by the time you go up the uphills, you're going to need those quads, those hamstrings, those glutes again. And if you totally just absolutely loaded your quads running down the hill, it's not going to be super fun running up. Lot of athletes will experience some quad cramping out here, or the calf cramping out here, and that's the quads is because of what we already talked about. The calves is because you're running uphill and you're trying to push yourself up, 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 up. So this is the Kinetic 2025 course this year. I'm really excited for the 2025 edition of the bike course, and it's going to be a little challenging. Times are going to be a little slower, but it's going to be fun. One thing I did not comment on, and I should here, is this section right here when you loop, when you start your second loop on the bike. This is a left-hand turn. Athletes are going to be coming over here, so this is going to be a little bit busy. Faster athletes beware, mid-pack athletes as well. Just watch out for athletes through there. That's going to be a really hot corner. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine. So good luck to everyone. I'll see you on the other side.